Welcome to The Explainer. In so many companies, there's this unspoken rule. We have to be perfect. But what if I told you that the chase for perfection is the very thing slowing us down? Today, we're diving into a really powerful and kind of counterintuitive idea. Just let that sink in for a second. Your company needs more rehearsals and fewer perfect plans. This is the big idea for today. It's a suggestion that our obsession with getting everything right the first time might be our biggest weakness. So what does this actually look like? Okay, so first, let's talk about the problem. We're going to call it the perfection trap. It's this silent pressure in so many workplaces, this deep-seated need to have everything polished and flawless before we even think about taking a step forward. Does this feel familiar? I bet it does. We're talking about those strategic plans that take months to write. They're crafted like literary masterpieces. Every single word is debated. But while all that wordsmithing is going on, is anyone actually doing anything? And oh boy, then comes the validation process. A cool new idea pops up, and instead of just, trying it out, we treat it like we're planning a trip to Mars. It needs a 100-page business case, sign off from 12 different departments. It's exhausting just thinking about it. And this is where everything grinds to a halt. When you've got a room full of people arguing over the placement of a single comma in a PowerPoint deck. Seriously. And while we're tied up in knots over tiny details, the entire market we were trying to win over has just completely moved on. So here's the painful truth. Here are the consequences of chasing that perfect plan. Number 1, it almost always shows up late. Number 2, because no plan ever survives contact with the real world, it's still flawed anyway. And maybe worst of all, it was built for a customer, for a market that doesn't even exist anymore. But there is a much smarter way to do things. And look, this isn't about being messy or just winging it. It's about a really strategic change in how we think. It's all about rehearsal. This question right here, it's a total game changer. Think about it. Instead of burning all that time and energy trying to convince everybody that your idea is brilliant, what if you just tested it? What if you could replace all those endless debates with actual real-world data? Let's put these two approaches side by side, because the difference is just night and day. The perfect plan? You're waiting 6 months. Relaunch? You launch a pilot in 2 weeks. Perfect plan? You've got to convince everyone in the whole company. Relaunch, you just need to convince one friendly team to give it a shot. It's about testing a small version instead of waiting for the grand solution. Now, let's be super clear. Rehearsal isn't just chaos. It's not just throwing stuff at a wall to see what sticks. No, it's a really smart process. It's about designing small, manageable risks so you can learn what you need to learn without, crashing the entire plane. We have this fantasy that brilliant ideas just pop into our heads fully formed and perfect. But the reality is, that almost never happens. Great ideas aren't always born great. A lot of the time, they start out as a clunky, kind of awkward rehearsal that needs a little room to grow, or a quick, painless death. Okay, so this all sounds pretty good in theory, right? But what does it actually look like in the real world? Let's take a look at a fantastic example of rehearsal in action. So picture this. You've got a big logistics company, and they know their onboarding for new employees is, well, it's not great. Now, the old way of doing things would be to form a committee, spend a year writing a giant report, and then roll out the perfect new program. But they didn't do that. They chose to rehearse instead. And just look at the speed here. It's incredible. Instead of one giant master plan, they quickly came up with 4 different versions. Every week, a new group of hires got a different experience. And at the end of the month, did they sit around and debate which one they thought was best? Nope. They just asked the new employees, hey, which one of these actually helped you the most? Simple as that. And the result? Get this. The HR team learned more in that one single month of rehearsing than they had in the previous 2 years of just sending out boring old surveys. That, right there, is the power of testing over just plan. Okay, so maybe you're sitting there thinking, all right, I'm sold. I want to do this at my job. The big question is, how do you actually build an environment, a culture, where rehearsal is even possible? Well, it really boils down to 4 key ingredients. First, You have to give people permission to make small mistakes. It has to be okay to not be perfect. Second, you need to create spaces that are explorable, not critical. Places where an idea can be played with, not shot down immediately. Third, you've got to empower the teams who would rather test something than debate it to death. And finally, and this is a big one, you need leaders who get it, who see that failing fast isn't failing, it's actually progress. So, what's the big payoff here? When you strip it all away, what is the ultimate advantage? Why does this approach win in the world we live in today? It all comes down to building a new mindset. Rehearsing isn't for amateurs. It's the most intelligent way to deal with an uncertain future. The goal isn't to prove you were right all along. The goal is simply to learn. Because at the end of the day, it's simple. The one who tests first learns first. And the one who learns first, well, that's the one who leads. So I'm going to leave you with a question to chew on. Think about your own team, your own company. Is it a place where new ideas are actually allowed to be rehearsed, where they can be tested and tweaked and improved? Or is it a place where every single thing has to be born perfect, or it's not allowed to be born at all? The answer to that question might just tell you everything you need to know about your future.